what is a climate model, and should I trust one if I hear a scientific result that's based on a climate model? So a climate model is a collection of many different theories about how the ocean and the atmosphere and the land and glaciers and aerosols and clouds and the sun's light and radiation all work together to make our Earth system the way that it is. And so we take all of these different theories and knit them together into a big model that allows all those different theories to talk to each other. So why would that be better than just using the theories one at a time? One reason is that humans are kind of bad at doing that assessment of lots of things all at once. We only remember a few things at a time, and we also have lots of well-known cognitive biases. The most commonly discussed one right now is called confirmation bias, and that means that if it's my pet theory, I think it explains everything in the world. So what a climate model does is it allows everyone to put their pet theories in, but then the balance of whose pet theory explains the behavior is a result of combining all of those different theories together in a quantitative and justifiable way, where you can go back and switch on and off pieces and do lots of experiments. So that's what a climate model is, really. One reason why a climate model is really important is we have only one planet that's habitable. And so when you do an experiment, what you normally like to have is you like to have a control group and then an experimental perturbation. And then the difference between those two is the result of whatever effect it is you're trying to test. When we have only one planet, which we happen to be doing a very large experiment on right now by emitting enormous amounts of fossil fuel based carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, we don't know what the planet would be like without those emissions. So having a climate model allows us to make an estimation. It's not a real planet, it's just a simulated planet, but it allows us to have a planet A and a planet B. And since there is no planet B in the real world, the planet A versus planet B allows us to make those kind of experiments. Okay, so should you trust a climate model? There are a lot of different ways to think about that problem. One is each of the theories that goes into the model are trustworthy in and of themselves. They're normally very carefully vetted separately, but you might still doubt whether putting them all together into one big piece of software was the right way to put them together. And I think one of the most interesting things that's happened recently, which I like a lot, is some of the earliest climate models that were scientifically described about 50 years ago. There's been a recent return to see whether their predictions were right. And so now here we are 50 years after they had made predictions. We've got 50 years of the climate changing. And it turns out that they actually have been proven to be pretty extraordinarily accurate. So not only the bulk idea of how much warming there would be under greenhouse gases, which actually was pretty accurately predicted by Svante Arrhenius over 100 years ago with pencil and paper, but other follow-on effects like how the radiation would change, how much water vapor would be in the atmosphere under different temperatures, how the weather systems would change, actually were predicted pretty well by even those earliest models. The models we have today are really sophisticated with a lot more detail in them. They don't change the big picture. Does global warming exist? They all tend to agree on that. The question is what they can predict now is greater detail. So they actually have hurricanes in them. They have the ocean equivalent of hurricanes, mesoscale eddies. They have land and sea ice that's melting and growing, and they can simulate glaciations, not just present climate. They can simulate other past climates, like when it was much warmer. So we not only trust them to do a good job of reproducing the 20th century, but we're beginning to believe that they do a fairly good job of representing other kinds of climates other than the one we live in now, which gives us more confidence in their ability to predict the future outside of the 50 years that we've been able to check them out so far. So I guess that's the big picture of what it's all about. So what does my group do? Well, as I said, there are a bunch of theories that go into building these climate models, well, what we do is we make those theories, or we improve existing ones. We grab a process. It might be a certain kind of turbulence in the ocean. It might be a certain kind of waves, like the waves you see at the beach. And we better describe the behavior of those processes in a way that it can be incorporated into a climate model alongside everything else. And we can find out what it does to the system as a whole. So, that's the game. That's what we do. And I think it's a lot of fun. And please contact me if you have any other questions.